Hey, welcome to the Sunday preview for October 6th. It's the 27th Sunday in the year, and we're continuing through the Gospel of Mark in this period of time. And it's from chapter 10. It says, the Pharisees approached Jesus and asked, "Is it lawful for a husband to divorce his wife?" They were testing him. And he said to them in reply, "What did Moses command you?" They replied, "Moses permitted a husband to write a bill of divorce and dismiss her." But Jesus told them, "Because of the hardness of your hearts, he wrote that commandment. But from the beginning, God made them male and female. And for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they were no longer two, but one flesh. What God has joined together, no human being must separate." In the house, the disciples again questioned Jesus about this. He said, "Whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery. And if she divorces her husband and marries another, she commits adultery." The gospel of the Lord. Well, here's something that seems to be a little bit of a surprising thing. Jesus taking a hard line on divorce. But the interesting thing is that he ties it back to the beginning. In the beginning, it was not this way. The Pharisees come to him and they've got all their arguments. They're going to trap him because, Moses did allow men to divorce their wives. And it was pretty much, by the time of Jesus, it was pretty much for anything. She burned the toast. That was an offense. He could send her away. And it was very one-sided. It was only men, and women were treated as property. And once a woman was divorced, she had to go back to her father's house and kind of lived in shame. So Jesus is reacting against that, but he's also reacting against, the whole Old Testament tradition. And he's saying that what Moses did was a concession because you were so hard of heart. And when he talks about the beginning, he's talking about the original creation of Adam and Eve, when they were in paradise together. And they were destined to live forever. And with the creation of Eve, it was clear that the two would become one flesh. They would be complementary to each other, not only physically, but also spiritually and psychologically, and that they were to form a bond. But everything changed when sin came into the world. That's when they had to cover themselves, and that's when they began to fight and pull apart, and that's when divisions were created, when sin entered the world. It wasn't God's original intention, what Moses had to do, but it was an adaptation to the fallen state of men and women. So what's different now? How does Jesus get away with this and say, okay, no divorce? Well, he's saying it because he brings the grace to make it possible to live like Adam and Eve lived before sin entered the world. Through the sacrament of matrimony, couples receive that grace to overcome their selfishness and their self-centeredness, their egoism, the me first, and to live for the other in a perfect surrender of mutual love. It's a hard teaching, for sure, but Jesus brings the grace for us to be able to live it, and we need to believe in the power of that grace, and it'll transform us if we do.